Top 10 most memorable nude scenes in movies and TV. Some scenes are remembered because they're beautiful, some because they're shocking, and some become so controversial that they end up becoming part of pop culture itself. From Gaspar Noé's provocative cinema to some of Hollywood's biggest stars, these are 10 of the most memorable nude and intimate moments in movies and television. Not simply because of what we see, but because of what these scenes meant for the story, the characters, and sometimes the careers of the actors involved. Let's count them down. Number 10. Sharon Stone, Basic Instinct. Let's start with one of the most recognizable scenes in Hollywood history. In 1992, Paul Verhoeven released Basic Instinct, starring Sharon Stone as the mysterious Catherine Tremell. The interrogation scene became legendary almost immediately. Stone's performance turned a simple police interview into one of the most provocative moments ever put into a mainstream thriller. But what made the scene so memorable wasn't simply the reveal, it was the confidence of the character. Catherine knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew everyone in the room was watching. Decades later, the scene is still instantly recognizable. That's the definition of a pop culture moment. Number 9. Thandiwe Newton, Westworld. When HBO premiered Westworld, audiences quickly discovered that this wasn't going to be ordinary science fiction. One of the show's central characters was Maeve Millay, played by Thandiwe Newton. Maeve begins the story as a host in a futuristic theme park, where human visitors can live out their fantasies. Her character is frequently presented through nudity and sexualization. But as the story develops, something changes. Maeve begins to understand what she really is. And eventually she begins taking control of her own story. Newton herself has spoken about how Maeve's nudity became a form of power and protest, rather than simply sexualization. That transformation is what makes the character so interesting. What begins as an image of vulnerability gradually becomes an image of control, and that became one of the central ideas behind Maeve's character.
You think I'm scared of death?
Number 8. Alessandra Ambrosio, Movies and TV. Before appearing on screen, Alessandra Ambrosio was already one of the most recognizable models in the world. Her transition from fashion into entertainment created a very different kind of celebrity presence. Unlike traditional actresses, Ambrosio entered film and television with an enormous public image already attached to her. And that's what makes her appearances interesting. She represents the point where fashion, celebrity culture, and mainstream entertainment collide. For audiences who already knew her from the fashion world, seeing her appear in movies and television created an entirely different kind of attention. Number 7. Megan Fox, Film and Television. Megan Fox became a worldwide star almost overnight after Transformers, but her career quickly became an interesting example of the difference between being famous and being taken seriously as an actress. Throughout her career, Fox appeared in roles that played with the image Hollywood had created around her. Her more intimate scenes became part of that public conversation, but behind the headlines was an actress trying to find different kinds of characters, and that's why her appearances remain such an interesting part of modern Hollywood celebrity culture. Number 6. Michael Fassbender, Shame. Steve McQueen's Shame is very different from the typical movie on this list. Michael Fassbender plays Brandon, a successful New Yorker whose private life is dominated by compulsive sexual behavior. The film contains nudity and sexuality, but its purpose isn't simply to shock the audience. It's about isolation, addiction, and the inability to form meaningful emotional connections. Fassbender's performance is deliberately uncomfortable. The audience isn't supposed to simply watch Brandon, we're supposed to feel how empty his life has become. And that's what makes Shame one of the more serious examples of sexuality being used as a storytelling device. Hollywood history.
Number 4. Margot Robbie, The Wolf of Wall Street. Before Barbie, before I, Tonya, and before becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Margot Robbie appeared in Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. She played Naomi LaPaglia opposite Leonardo DiCaprio. The movie itself is built around excess, money, drugs, power, and obsession. Robbie's character becomes part of that world while also challenging Jordan Belfort's control over it. Her intimate scenes attracted enormous attention when the film was released, but more importantly, the performance announced the arrival of a major new Hollywood star. Margot Robbie wasn't simply another beautiful face in a Scorsese movie. She had presence, and audiences noticed. Number 3. Gaspar Noé, Irreversible. Gaspar Noé doesn't make comfortable movies. He makes movies that stay with you. His 2002 film Irreversible stars Monica Bellucci as Alex and Vincent Cassel as Marcus. The film famously tells its story backwards, and that structure completely changes the way we experience the characters. Scenes that might initially seem confusing or disturbing gradually take on a completely different meaning as the story moves toward its beginning. Noé uses intimacy, violence, time, and memory to explore how quickly a human life can be destroyed. It's not conventional Hollywood filmmaking, and that's exactly why Irreversible remains so controversial and memorable. Number 2. Gaspar Noé, Love. At number 2, we stay with Gaspar Noé, but this time we're talking about Love. The film stars Karl Glusman as Murphy and Aomi Muyock as Electra, with Clara Kristen as Omi. Unlike most mainstream romances, Love places sexuality directly at the center of the story. Murphy and Electra aren't presented as a perfect couple. They're passionate, they're complicated, they're destructive. And eventually, their relationship becomes a story about regret. Noé filmed the movie in 3D and deliberately blurred the line between erotic cinema and conventional filmmaking. The result divided audiences. Some saw it as provocative art, others saw it as excessive, but nobody could really call it forgettable, and that's exactly why Love belongs on this list. Number 1. Sydney Sweeney, TV and film. Few years, Sweeney has become one of the most recognizable young actresses in Hollywood. From Euphoria to The Voyeurs and beyond, her roles have frequently explored intimacy, vulnerability, and complicated relationships. But what makes her appearances particularly interesting is how quickly her career evolved. She went from television roles to becoming a major Hollywood star, and scenes that once generated controversy became part of a much larger conversation about celebrity, privacy, performance, and the expectations placed on young actresses. Sweeney has also demonstrated that she isn't defined by those scenes. Her career continues to expand far beyond them, and perhaps that's the most interesting part of all. So there you have it. 10 memorable moments from movies and television that audiences couldn't stop talking about. Some were controversial, some were artistic, some changed careers, and some simply became part of pop culture. But one thing connects all of them. Cinema has always used intimacy to tell stories about power, vulnerability, desire, and identity, and sometimes one scene can become bigger than the movie itself. Which one would you put at number 1? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories about the most controversial, unforgettable, and fascinating moments in cinema, subscribe to High Hopes TV